All right. Sit back here. Vice Admiral Dahl. So what was it? Considering that she can also use the advanced. Hey, what's up, Diode? 1 second. Let me actually put this on the Discord, letting everyone know that I am doing the thing right now. I'm live. At everyone, I'm live. There we go. How's it going, guys? How are you fellas doing? How are you guys doing? We got a few hours together before I have to head out. What's up, Scott? Before I have to head out, my mom is heading back on a flight. I have to go pick her up. I haven't had much of a chance to work. When is the oil done? I'm not doing that. I'm not. No. No. Alright, let me go get something to drink. Okay, so we've actually run in. Nah, but with all seriousness, how you been, Unc? No, we're good. We're good. We're doing well. Had a bit of a long weekend, all things considered. Now that I'm back, I got a chance to catch up with a good number of friends. Basically, went out to play some Sunday night Magic with some friends from college. Had to drive about an hour there, but the drive back was like 2 hours long because of traffic. Shit was absolutely terrible. Busy with Hollow Knight and getting beat by Grim. Ah, damn. Hollow Knight. I heard the game was hard, man. Good luck to you, Drake. Yeah, I went to play some Sunday, I guess afternoon Magic more than Sunday night. I had to head back. Except that traffic, yeah, no, the traffic was kind of ass, but hey, we move on. Could you imagine making the One Piece arc? Can you imagine making the One Piece arc? The Noah? What One Piece arc? You talking about like the Noah? Anyway, um, you miss me? Yeah, I miss all you guys. I I've been trying to like figure out just like how do I word this entire fucking thing because I'm gonna be honest with you. Been meaning to finish Bleach reread, but some decent manga got my attention. Instead, nice. What mangas are you reading through? The biggest ship in One Piece. Yeah. Could you imagine the making of it? Yeah, no, the making of it must have been insane. I'm not gonna lie. How long you guys think it would have taken somebody in One Piece? Because like Frankie got the Thousand Sunny, which is almost like 60 meters long, done within a couple of days. So imagine like a full actual crew making this. It's probably got to be like at least weeks to months, right? Like the Noah is the size of a fucking island. Okay, so I ended up writing I think about like 2 pages worth of the script today. Yeah, I ended up actually moving into like about two in here early. What's good? What's good, Nacho? 2 weeks max. 2 weeks max sounds crazy. Like for the whole arc, that sounds insane. Uh, okay, so a bit of a thing. A bit of a thing we have to go over. Generally equipped. Well, I. So, with how efficient everyone in One Piece is, 2 weeks max. What's up? What's up, One Smart? Yeah, I do think they could probably get it done within like a couple of weeks. So, the research itself is virtually next to done. If anyone knows the chapters where I have to get like the Fujitora stuff, just to get like the actual, just some actual like pages from him. I know he's in Dressrosa. I know there's some stuff in the Reverie, but I kind of need the page numbers for it at this point because I'm just like blah. And I don't want to have to read through all of Dressrosa just to get everything. This is fantastic. Greatest estate developer. Actually overtook Grand Blue in terms of comedy, which is surprising even to me. Really. Surviving the game as a barbarian is decent as well, but not too terribly impressive. I heard something about a series with like barbarian in the name. I'm not sure if it's the right one. I can't tell you if it was I also can't tell you if it was a manhwa or a shark attack. I also can't tell you if it was like a manhwa that I heard of, or that I don't recall exactly. Yeah, I just need to find like the Fujitora stuff, which is probably before this. I don't. I'm gonna do this later. So I want to give you guys an idea of where I'm at within the video, right? Just to give you guys a bit of a synopsis, cause I've kind of like come to the point that like, crazy to think the Straw has spent more time apart than they did in their actual adventure. Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy. So one of the things that I wanted to like actually sort of do with these streams wasn't just, you know, going through with you guys to like try to explain my thought process with some of these ideas and videos and stuff like that. Mostly with like how do I come across with the script, because this isn't an idea that like I think is as easy to come out of. I want to see all the screenshot images you've taken from One Piece manga. You want to see? I haven't taken like any screenshots personally. If you're talking like covers, I've got all of these covers over here. Oh wait, did I put it wrong. This is what, 703 page 1. I have to rename this. 703 P1. Do I already have one? 703 P1. I already have this. Alright, no, this just gets deleted then. So this is mostly just for covers, and then for everything else, you know, I've got these portions right here, XYZ, you know what I mean? So part of the reason I want to kind of do these streams is because, like, I also realized that, like, in general, I don't have that many people that actually watch me in comparison to my, like, actual subscriber base. Not to say anything, like, honestly, I don't mind. I enjoy having you guys here, and honestly, I feel like it's a lot easier to have a stream with, like, less people, only because, like, it's less, you know, things being shotgunned at me at once. Did I put this in the wrong... I can't open this. This should be One Piece. This has to go... This has to go in the video section, so I have to actually fix that real quick. But I also wanted to do it because I wanted to sort of, like, also give you guys an idea of, like, what it's like as, like, a content creator. Like, you know, sit down and, like, really try to formulate these... Cancel all transfers. I'm gonna just delete this. I'm just gonna delete this. I don't think I'm gonna need this. People in streams need to focus on the topic instead of throwing the same constant questions and requests. Well, I mean, sometimes people come in here and they don't really know, like, what the hell it is we're talking about. As a matter of fact, I'm probably gonna spend a... I've been live for 7 minutes. I only got the notification. What's good, Six? Hope you've been good, man. I've mostly just been, like, on the... Let me slow down. Yeah, you can't really blame, like, everybody for not knowing what exactly it is that we're doing, which is fine when they come in with questions. I think that's okay. As for... What the fuck is this? QuickBooks? I don't know what the fuck that is. I think for me, at least, I'm trying to, like, just make the stream a place where, like, I can also sort of rationalize, because if I'm having a conversation with you guys about, like, the video topics and stuff like that, it can probably help me not only formulate a much more cohesive argument, because a lot of the ways that I actually make many of my other arguments is actually through, essentially playing devil's advocate. I tend to think a lot... Hey, what's up, Brown Pants? I tend to think a lot, with myself about, like, what someone could say, what argument someone can make against XYZ. Where was that Mr. Morge video? I need to find that Mr. Morge video. There was a new one that he put out that I also wanted to watch, this one, but we might not get to it right now. Rayleigh may as well be his dad. Probably spend more time than him than Garp did. Yeah, that's crazy. Was rewatching Naruto and rereading Bleach for the first time. I've watched Bleach or stopped after the Mount arc. I fear my appreciation of the series has been declining. Gotta get it up. I feel like, I don't know, man. It depends. Like, depending on, like, what time at what point in your life you were, like, watching or reading Bleach, especially if you were reading it as, the chapters were still somewhat coming out. I think that there's, like, a very easy way that one can just say, you know what? I feel like there also comes a time where you just realize that, like, you know, maybe some of the things that I liked growing up, or some of the things that, like, I watched growing up, they're just not as good as, like, the quality of things that are out now, right? Like, I would be lying to myself if at least I think I would be lying to myself if I said that, like, I do believe Dragon Ball is as high quality as, like, anything I've seen up until now. Maybe you could say, like, the animation, sure, if you really are just into that, like, 90s aesthetic, like, the 90s, animation style and aesthetic, that's also completely fine. But, I don't know, for me personally, like, I think at least at this point in my life, I kind of just want to focus more on a story that, like, consistently makes me feel like I'm not, I don't want to say being let down. I want to feel satisfied when I'm reading something, like how I feel when I read Blue Lock or JJK or One Piece. You know what I mean? Tried getting back into Bleach and just couldn't. I can still enjoy portions of Naruto despite their flaws. Yeah, like, you can still appreciate all their flaws. It's more or less just a case of, like, arguing, like, okay, well, you know, I'm watching Dragon Ball for, like, the fighting only. I'm watching XYZ for, you know, other stuff. Some things are just good for their time. Yeah, no, that's 100% true. Sometimes you have to, like, look at things from the perspective and time frame of when it came out. And I do think that's fair, but also when, like, you know, I also like to think that, like, it's both fair and unfair to, like, always try to say, like, well, you can only sort of judge something, right? I feel like that's also a slippery slope, because I feel like it's one of those cases where, like, let's say Dragon Ball, for example. For the time that it came out, peak. I don't think there's anything out there that was probably as good as Dragon Ball. But, you know, time goes by, decades move along, more, manga and anime has become more and more fleshed out with, like, the things that they want to say and do, and it ultimately just boils down to the point where it's like, like, where you kind of just want to be honest with yourself. You want to be honest with yourself and say, like, this was good for its time, but nowadays this wouldn't really, you know, stick out much or really be much, right? I had a conversation with my friend about this, about, like, Mario 64. It's a great game. It's a fantastic game and revolutionized gaming as a whole, especially with 3D movement, but you play the game now, and a lot of 3D collectathon platformers just kind of do what that game does, but a bit better. If we're not talking speed running, like competitive Mario 64 speedrunning, like, yeah, no, it just, like, on a casual play run, yeah, no, you could just kind of play anything else and you probably get more out of it, right? More options, more movement mechanics, just more gimmicks to play with. I can't attend the stream today, but wanted to keep up the good work. Oh, thank you, appreciate that. I've actually been, like, a little bit slow with, I've been a little bit slow myself, I'm not gonna lie. Just with, like, content and everything. I realized that, like, I'm just not gonna get this video done in 9 days. I can't, especially since I'm 4 pages into the actual script. I'm about 4 pages in. And, yeah, no, this is gonna take me a lot longer, especially from, like, the editing perspective. Like, the portion where, like, I'm talking about, like, Obito and Obito and Kabuto, like, sending out a buster call against, like, not the Straw Hats, Naruto and B. I'm like, bruh, I'm gonna actually have to, like, cut out and edit this part through, so that's probably gonna be the last thing I edit. So, yeah, fuck no. Fuck no. But there's no way I can get this done in 9 days, especially, with this upcoming weekend that I've got. If someone offered you $1 million to form an argument that Itachi solos One Piece, would you make the deal? I could probably take the deal. I could definitely make an argument for it, but I'd have to do some, like, pretty ratty scaling, and I'd have to argue a lot of things that I just don't believe in. I'd also have to probably verse equalize. No, the script's not done. I actually wanted to finish this bullshit today. By the way, I use bullshit as, like, I use bullshit not as, like, you know, actual bullshit. I use it as, like, a substitution for noun. I don't actually think it's bullshit, but if you guys hear me say, like, oh, this bullshit, that bullshit, yeah, it's not, I don't actually think it is bullshit in and of itself. Amanadachi. Is this the attack that he used to, like, split the entirety of the fucking Rankyaku Amanadachi, literally meaning circumference sphere, where beast form spins quickly in a circle, standing on one hand. Okay, so it is his strongest Rangyaku. Okay, so let me just get to the point that I'm at right now so I can explain to you guys what exactly I need to write through, because I do have about a little under 2 hours to work on this before I have to head out. Completely severed. Used one of his most powerful attacks, Rankyaku Amanadachi. Rankyaku Amanadachi. Rankyaku Amanadachi. Okay, I have to just be able to pronounce that, and then I'm just going to say his Rankyaku from before. You started scaling MHA. How's it going, Six? Are you liking the story? I don't think we ever talked about MHA. Do you like it, or are you just scaling it because you wanted to scale it? Okay. Also, I do have to set up that debate stream, so we're gonna have to get through that this week. I'll probably send out. Yeah, I'm gonna send out some. I'm gonna send out some messages probably tomorrow to the Discord, letting people know if they want to participate. But yeah. Okay. So, let me just give you guys context so you guys don't have to read through the entirety of this. Now, when talking about the scaling, I essentially just say that from like chapters 505 to 570, just before Naruto gets KCM2, his abilities are essentially that he can essentially move at light speed or an arbitrary value of FTL speeds. He should be anywhere around like mountain busting ranges, especially with the Rasen Shuriken. If you want to say that it at the very I think it's decent. I have a lot of gripes with the story, but I also have a lot of things I like about it. Okay, that's dope. That's dope. Who's your favorite character? Really hard boss because I said Nami would call him a good boy. Amazing times. I could go back, man. I could go back to doing some gaming. My birthday is coming up. I'm hoping to get a bit of birthday money so that I can like get the Elgato, and then I can actually start streaming some games, and I can also start doing some game scaling. That's probably going to be like the next focus for the channel, because it allows me to essentially not only get gameplay, it essentially not only allows me to like record gameplay, but I'm also capable at that point to not just record gameplay, but also turn the gameplay into actual videos, so I can have like live streams, funny moment content, and then I can also upload the thing. I want to make sure you view. I want to make sure you actually view on the library hard. I just want to make sure that you can actually see them. I'll let you know. As a matter of fact, Jeff, just before I head out, actually, do I have it? Library of Ohara. Let's see. Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War, interviews. There's nothing in here right now. Okay. Okay, yeah, we're able to watch it. We're able to watch it. Okay, let me just step back though, so that way, yeah. Okay. Okay, that'll be fine. Probably might go Deku. Okay, you like Deku? I don't like him. I don't like Deku as a character. I don't know why. Something about him just like breeds me the wrong way. Okay, so the essential. So I have Naruto at this point in the story around the strength level of a mountain buster. I think that it's fair to put him at around this tier. I think that it allows him to essentially not only fight on an equal basis with, like, let's say the other tailed beasts. There's a way to technically calculate that the Rasen Shuriken is about 25 to 26 times stronger than a massive Rasengan. Where did I get the number from? When can you do reactions? Probably not in this stream, because I do want to finish up the script as soon as I can. So it's about 25 to 26 times stronger, because he essentially uses about 25 of these massive Rasengans to essentially blast Kurama, and then uses a Rasen Shuriken to finish pulling him out. The amount of damage that it actually did... oh, I posted all the QA. And you can just repost it in there. Okay. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Game scaling is weird. Like, Persona, if you go on full anti-physical Persona, does Joker get full immunity to physical attacks? Hey, you started One Punch Man? How is it, Lapis? How's it going? How have you guys been? 1 second. So, yeah, there's essentially a scan that shows that Naruto's massive Rasengan, his Rasen Shuriken is about as strong as about 25 or 26 of these massive Rasengans. Just to give you guys an idea of like where it probably scales. I think it's a fair comparison in all things considered. Like, I do think it's like a bit of a fair comparison. It essentially also creates a stage where Itachi through pain pre-war. It also creates a stage where it allows me to say that, like, the Rasen Shuriken should be, if you think that Naruto is at least, like, a base clone of Naruto from the War Arc is weaker than Sage Jiraiya, if you genuinely believe that, and you don't think that it scales to mountain level, then for whatever point within the range of, like, you know, the 10 times difference that Sage Jiraiya would have over him, You could always just say that, like, well, even if a massive Rasengan from base Naruto isn't mountain carving level or whatever because of a 10 times difference between him and Jiraiya, you can always just say the Rasen Shuriken is because it's 26 times stronger than a massive Rasengan. Something around that, right? It's goofy as hell and you love it. Yeah, it's one of the things that actually makes One Punch Man one of the like a very, I think it, not from like a power scaling perspective, just from like an anime ongoer, so close to 10k, I'm gonna tell my grandma about it. No, appreciate that. Hypersonic with Max, One for All. Alright. I'm only about 30 chapters in, and that's some pretty good scaling. Top tier should be Mountain Plus and Hypersonic. Deku's building level and Superior Human Hypersonic. Okay, got you. But yeah, so you can definitely just get the Rasen Shuriken to be about that strong. And you can probably also just argue that KCM is about as big of an amp, maybe big, honestly bigger, but it's at least a 10 times amp like Sage Mode. Granted, they both offer different things that make each transformation slightly more impressive on different fronts. By the way, guys, Lapis, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Can we get some W Lapis, please? Can't lie, Kaido got massively power cliffed by old gen Mihawk upscale. And Big Mom is also getting one shot by the same Kaido. Mihawk might just aura flex on her and she loses my goat. Alright. Shit. Okay, we get some W Lapises on going on stream. So that's where I'm scaling Naruto. Killer B, I don't really go into a lot of like what Naruto can do, only because like there's kind of no point in me doing it, just giving like a skill for like how strong Naruto is and how fast he is, and being strong enough to tank about what he's able to tank. Although I don't think Naruto even with KCM can tank a tailed beast bomb without at least walking out. Or maybe should hand it out for free. Yeah, they're given to random viewers on the stream. If you wanna, I don't know, get a membership guaranteed, you might just want to be here when somebody, gives subs, and you might just hope that, like, there's not that many viewers so you can get lucky. Fortnite is the reason I started One Punch Man. Really? Did they add him to the game? I'm not sure if they did. Did they add, I didn't know about Saitama joining. Is that more recent? So, okay, mountain busting ranges. Killer B is about as strong as Naruto, right? I really want to get through this, though. Killer B is about as strong as Naruto. There is a bit of a difference between like how strong Naruto and Killer B are. You could probably say that B is like a lot harder hitting on the physical side, if you'd like to say that, especially because of the lariat. He doesn't have like a big, I wouldn't say that like Killer B has like a massive flashing move, like quote unquote the Rasengan, but I would probably argue that B at the very least has a potentially higher yield of attack potency simply because he has access to his full host transformation. In a regard like this, I actually think that, like, you could probably argue B is the stronger of the two from a high end, only because I don't know if I see KCM Naruto necessarily taking down B or even tanking a tailed beast bomb. I actually put in a little point right here where I actually mentioned that, and finally, he technically does have the capacity to run at the speed, at the very least, at almost the speed of light, thanks to the double lariat statement that he just so happens to share alongside A. So because he does share A's statement to be able to run at almost the speed of light in order to perform the double lariat, you can easily argue that like B is light speed. It's also arguable whether or not he can run at light speed or faster than light speeds, depending on how big of an amp you think the V2 tailed beast cloak is in comparison to V1, and depending on, again, how close to almost the speed of light they actually are. KCM 1 Naruto. I think KCM 2 Naruto curb stomps B. KCM 1 Naruto, I think it's a bit of a 50-50 on that. Yep, it's their newest anime collab. Been cranking 90s as Tatsumaki and double pumping in the latter shift. Oh, nice. Nice. They made Tatsumaki like the same size as all the other characters, or is she just like shorter and floats? I'm not sure. I haven't seen the models yet. I'm more of a Mob Psycho than a One Punch Man guy myself. They're pretty good. I'm glad you enjoyed them, man. Losing to a reincarnation of the Sun God who will defeat an 800-year-old god, not in the same. Also, you think Sabo gets ACOC? He'll be above or still below Cobra. That is crazy. Saying Sabo is below Cobra is crazy. Now, I'm making a point here at this point in the video to ask, if you ask me, Naruto and B both possess the enough firepower to single-handedly take out one of these marine battleships. I mean, listen, Naruto should have the capacity to, she has the same model, but she is really slim. Okay. So she's as tall as all the other female models. They just sort of took her her thing and like stretched it out. Okay. If you ask me, yeah, they should be able to take out the Marine battleships. I mentioned it here. The Marine battleships are not exactly like the biggest point of contention. Naruto, Ichigo. I'm not answering any question. Is surviving a nuke, Ichigo. I'm trying not to answer any questions. Like, if you guys aren't asking me stuff in regards to this, I really do not want to answer them. Please try to keep it to like the topic of conversation because I am going to divert if we do that. Now, while I don't believe that the Turtle Island can go completely unscathed, even if Naruto and B are capable of stopping it, the damage done shouldn't be too severe if B immediately goes for a host transformation. Part of the thing that like makes me believe that Naruto and B should be able to just handle these ships relatively easily is just the fact that if B goes into his full host transformation, he 100% shoots down each of these battleships with a single-tailed beast bomb each, and probably one with collateral if they're close enough to one another. I'll probably just say that the ships will probably just be spaced out enough to where like they can't be one shot by it. The thing about it though is that like B can kind of rapid fire tailed beast bombs. How long does a tailed beast bomb take to form? It's kind of weird because like they can technically charge one up and then like shoot multiple tailed beast bombs out of it as well, if I remember correctly. They can charge like a big tailed beast bomb and then shoot out multiple of them. Yeah. Do I have pre-war arc, Pain arc, Pain, 4th grade ninja? Do I have the scan? Oh, this is just a copy. Actually, give me 1 second. I have to like I just downloaded a fuck ton of copies, dude. Huh. That is crazy. Why do I have so many copies, man? Alright, whatever. Delete. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Alright. So B can technically rapid fire them, although I don't know how accurate he is while rapid firing them because they were kind of hitting one big target. I honestly think Naruto would be still lose to the Vice Admiral. So here's the thing about the Vice Admirals. I actually don't think I have a good way of... I say charging takes about 5 to 7 seconds. It depends on how big the tailed beast bomb is going to be and whether or not they're going to shoot it separately or consistently, since it's not instant with B. It is true that it's not instant with B, but the thing is that, like, if you look at the scene where Naruto and B do shoot tailed beast bombs at the Ten Tails, you can actually tell that, like, they take about the same amount of time to charge them up. But it's not really just as pure stats, because here's the thing. I'm trying to be as, like, unbiased with this kind of stuff as I can be. And I really, and I'm going to be honest, I really do try to, like, you know, when I formulate an argument, I don't just want to be I don't want the basis of the argument to always be like, well, they should be X amount of strong. They should be Y amount of strong. The reason why I say this specifically is because, hear me out for a second. I'll just show you guys, like, let's say, I have the fucking same scans again? What kind of bullshit is... What the fuck? Okay. 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 I don't have those scans? What the Alright, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I have to go look for those scans. That should not be the case. Hold on, which version of Naruto are we using? We're using KCM1 Naruto pre-KCM2. 91, right? Yeah, why the fuck don't I have these scans? The fuck? 10. One Piece. Egghead. 1091. I don't have page 4. Okay, so that's just one whole page. And then... No, it's fine. Start of War Narco, basically them running to the battlefield. Yeah. So no KCM2. Yeah, he loses to the simple fact that KCM looks ugly, Aurelus form. Alright. That aside, Rohan aside, Bijubomb can probably be fired pretty fast. If you need power, you go full four-tailed Naruto versus Orochimaru and charge that shit. Yeah, that's the thing though. Like, I don't think I've has any other tailed beast tailed beast full host transformation any other Jinchuriki, have they been able to fire-tailed beast bombs besides Naruto, like, without going full host transformation? It's not really a situation if they are strong enough. They kind of just are from scaling from the Mark III Pacifista and Priest-time skip Straw Hat. Well, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Where do the pre-time skip Straw Hats, like, really stack to, right? Like, where do they really, you know, where do they really go to? I don't think Baryon mode has that great of a design, I'm going to be honest with you. But anyway, so the comparison of, like, the Vice Admirals is honestly... It may not actually be as impressive, at least if you're being an onlooker, because here's the thing. It's one thing to know One Piece scaling and to say, like, yeah, well, the Vice Admiral should at least have a chance if they outstat. But the thing is that you have to still prove why they outstat, and that's kind of the issue, right? So, let me just kind of go on it little by little, right? Naruto and B should 100% be capable of taking out the battleships. That's not an issue. If Naruto just makes 4 clones and all 4 clones just charge at each of the ships, they kind of take out like 8 ships sort of in one go if each clone uses like a Rasen Shuriken, tosses like a Rasen Shuriken or 2, which aren't big enough to like one-shot the ship, but it's big enough to deal and powerful enough that it should be able to like, you know, blow away portions of the ship. Plus, yeah, but again, you have to prove it. You can't just say because Luffy scales to this, these other characters should scale to this. I understand and I kind of agree with the line of scaling, but you still have to be able to prove it, right? I still have to give feats that aren't just for the Straw Hats, and then because the Straw Hats did something, the Vice Admiral should be able to do it too. That's not how I scale. I have to basically bridge it somehow in order for me to make the argument, right? So 40% of the ships get taken out by, like, B if he does, like, a successful tailed Beast Barrage. Granted, again, I don't know if B can rapid fire them with the utmost level of accuracy. I just want to make that clear because he kind of just fires 4 of them that kind of don't divert much, but they kind of all just go in, like, in a straight line at the 10 tails. The battleships are not the issue. The problem is, like I said before, the Vice Admiral. So, starting off with Vice Admiral Doll, she's basically the poster child for as to why you should join the Marines. She's a powerful combatant that can one-shot a pacifista in the manga and can two-shot them in the anime. She can literally hit a pacifista so hard. Vice Admirals versus pacifista. They can essentially... She, at the very least, can two-shot a... Let me lower this. Let me see if I can find it. She can, at the very least, two-shot a pacifista, right? Let me get through it. Okay. So, she goes 1 kick. And then let's just skip forward. Keep going. And then she goes for 2nd kick, right? Ooh, do not want to do it like that. Okay, so she basically crashes it into the ground, right? Ah, damn. Can I go back by a frame? Come on. Okay, so we'll just leave it there, right? That's what Doll can do. That's kind of one of, like, the more... She has ACOC. She has ACOA. That's, let me think. Would an Egghead Vice Admiral scale to or above Momonga and Dalmatian? That's the thing. There's no bridge. So, Michael, you asked a very good question. The thing about the thing about characters in general, and the thing I like to like try to at least something that I want to push forward in anime and just in power scaling is that if you want to make a comparison between characters, you want to find a bridge. A bridge is essentially a feat, a statement, or a battle, an actual fight, where characters essentially are able to you're able to bridge 2 feats together to say these are similar things. For example, in One Piece, one of the reasons why I can say that Luffy is like, I'll just give you a value, continental by this point in the story using 3rd gear is because he fixed Don Chinjiao's head when he hit it with his hand, right? He bent his head forward, he fixed his head, and then later on, Don Sai bends Don Chinjiao's head. In this case, if Don Sai bending Don Chinjiao's head is what made Don Chinjiao say you are now capable of splitting the continent of ice, and Luffy was able to perform a very similar feat in fixing his head in the first place, you could bridge them through the feat with Don Chinjiao, through both feats with Don Chinjiao. That's a bridge. With the Vice Admirals, the only thing that you can kind of use to bridge them to any other characters, in this case, let's say the Straw Hats, is Vice Admiral Dahl and some of the other Vice Admiral, well, in this case, just Dahl only, fighting a pacifista. Now, the thing I want to make clear is that while fighting the pacifista, and I'm going to just show it to you guys here, they never actually end up shooting. They never actually end up shooting their beams of light. They're charging the entire time. You could maybe argue that they're moving at faster than light speeds if you think that, like, the actual beams of light take, you charge up at the speed of light, etc. But the point I'm trying to make this, trying to compare Big Bum to, I do think they are comparable, though, to be fair. Assuming that they scale above an L, at the very least, the Vice Admirals could be mountain to island level DC, i.e. based on an L producing a dark cloud layer. But again, the difference between the Vice Admirals and an L is that an L's using what is generally considered to be, wouldn't all one-shotting a pacifista be a bridge, though? I'll get to that in just a second. I will get to that in just a second. To this point, though, the reason why this isn't a very good bridge is because, yes, while they could be potentially more powerful than an L, you also have to consider that, like, Enel's attack was essentially being formed off of the dark clouds made by the Arc Maxim, and therefore, while it is his own attack and he's only using it to fuel it, or at least create the necessary the necessary clouds in order for him to create such a massive ball of energy, he is also a Logia that doesn't exactly use the same, let's say, quote-unquote, attacks, type of attack that the Vice Admirals would use, which are basically just reinforced hockey. It's hard to gauge the Admiral's power because the minimum requirement is hockey and not power necessarily. It's not necessarily a requirement of hockey either. I'll get to that in just a second. So, as Six pointed out here, and as I mentioned earlier, the bridge here is the pacifista. Now, to be clear, there is nothing within the context of the story, at least in my opinion, that even remotely implies... there is nothing at this point in the story that even remotely imply himself says that he's out of his prime. How can we bridge Luffy to Continental Chinjiao? Because Chinjiao's head breaks by Sai, and he said that Sai breaking his head would open up the... would essentially confirm that he can open up the continent of ice, and Luffy could fix that. That's why that's a bridge. In this case, defeating a pacifista is the bridge, but like I said, there's no way to actually confirm whether or not these pacifista, these Mark III pacifista, are actually any more powerful than the Mark I pacifista. Now, obviously, you know, normal deductive reasoning, logical reasoning would say a Mark III pacifista should be objectively better than a Mark I pacifista. I would agree with that. I would agree with that 100%. However, nothing implies it, so it's an argument made from logical reasoning rather than actual evidence, right? Which, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. A lot of the times, arguments in power scaling may be made from logical reasoning or induction/deduction, but when you're trying to make a claim as solid as possible, when you want to make your argument as solid as possible, you do need to have some bit of evidence to also imply it. The reason why I think that this is important to bring up is because, as a comparison, how strong are Luffy and the others? Well, Luffy, for example, is capable of running through the entirety of the city, tearing down of Enies Lobby, tearing down walls, and essentially buildings, sort of bringing them down like they're paper mache. He's literally smashing his way through all of Enies Lobby, right? Zoro, when Zoro fights Kaku, Kaku uses Rankyaku Amanedachi. Let's see, where is it? Massive attack, uses a bonus to inflict massive damage. Right here, page 402. Just to give you guys context, they should be at minimum as strong as a normal pacifista, though. No, 100%. They should be at bare minimum as strong as a normal pacifista, but we have to first figure out how strong the Straw Hats have to be in order to take on a pacifista, or at the very least, how tough a pacifista has to be in order for it to withstand the level of attacks that it did. Now, the Sky Slicer, the Sky Slicer, or the Amanedachi, was able to slice the entirety of Enies Lobby, which was absolutely massive, and left Zoro and Usopp sort of, you know, with their mouths gaped. Well, not really that, more so like them being stuck with cuffs, but that's neither here nor there. It was able to do something like this. Now, as we all know, later on, Zoro is capable of not only clashing with, but also completely overpowering this very attack that split the entirety of this building with his Asura. Logical reasoning would allow for Logias to have weaknesses they probably don't have in canon. Like, yep, 100%. Like, would being a good electric insulator as rubber, but would not being able to hurt an L as well. 100%. Speaking of my soul, every time I hear big meme, alright. Let me find Water 7 real quick. I should probably just change this to, like, Water 7 / NES Lobby. Let me just do that. / By the way, guys, anybody here played Sonic Racing Cross World? I recently played through the game myself for the open beta. It was so much fun. It was absolutely some of the most fun I've had with a racing game in a while. Okay, so I don't actually have the fight. Fuck me. So here's what we're gonna do. Just to give you guys an example. And I'll take the Luffy panel quickly, and then we're gonna go to Sabaody. Please tell me I have something for Sabaody. I don't. I have... What? Okay. Now, if Kaku was able to split this entire building, Zoro's Asura is stronger than it, and the Pacifista is able to tank the Asura much better than an entire giant building. Needed Gear 3 from Luffy to down it. And not just Gear 3 from Luffy to down it. The Pacifista also needed multiple stabbing / slicing attacks, blunt force attacks, explosive attacks from Usopp, Chopper, and Brook. It needed its own explosive beam of light to blow up on its head, in addition to a lightning Thunderlance tempo, literal lightning, literally splitting its insides. Well, not splitting its insides. That's just me being a bit facetious. But essentially having a lightning bolt go through its chest just for it to still attack, even though it's hitting all of those. It's taking all of this damage. And then for Sanji to hit it with his flambe shot, and for Asura to essentially slash it, even though it wasn't enough to even rip through its clothing. Finally, for Luffy to finish off with a Gum Gum giant rifle, which is much more powerful than a regular Gum Gum giant pistol, which did this in NES Lobby. This, yeah. And also, for context, Luffy's legs are about half-ish the size of a full marine battleship. Hey, someone brought up the surviving the game as a barbarian. Great taste, not a series I would be interested in for power scaling. But great series, if the game excited, it would be so much fun. Oh, okay. Big Mom doesn't need it, though. She's basically functions as a Paramythia awakening. That's not even by adding the natural strength and durability. Wasn't it stated somewhere that an army of pacifistas can take on an entire country? Yes! An army of pacifistas is also powerful enough to take down an entire country, and that's stated in Egghead, when, I think it was the Gorosei that essentially said that, like, Vegapunk really gave this little girl the power to essentially destroy entire nations. Buddy, I don't think... Understand? Okay, anyway. So, that's kind of what I've said here for, like, how powerful a pacifista is. Now, there isn't necessarily a... However, take into account the context that... taking into consideration also that Luffy was capable of taking down a Mark I pacifista in a single hit with his Gum Gum Jet pistol while in second gear and while using armament Haki. Mind you, Doll, I'm not gonna... Let me just show you again. Doll is not actually using Haki. She does wear black boots, but she's not actually visibly using Haki. Therefore, I think it's at the very least fair to say... Hey, what's up, Tony Jake? I think it's at the very least fair to say that she's not actually using Haki, and so this is basically a brute force hit from her alone. You could probably want to argue it if you're like, come on, Eon, you don't think that she's using Haki at this point, but no, there's literally nothing that implies she's using Haki here. And at this point, these characters do still turn black when they use Haki. Like, you even see it with one of the other Vice Admirals in Egghead, whereas hands quite literally turn black in order to do the thing. But that's me just yapping. So
In order to take down a first-generation pacifist, they need to use multiple combinations. Okay. Vice Admiral Dahl took one of these things out in 2 kicks. I'm sure some people would try to bridge this with Luffy's post-time skip, where in that feat, the pacifist exploded. However, when taking into account that the context that the Marines have direct orders to not destroy the Mark III pacifistas, since they are a massive military asset, I think it makes Dahl's feat about impressive as Luffy, especially since she arguably isn't using... Especially since she is arguably not using Haki, unlike Luffy, who was using second gear and Haki, and armament Haki. And I'll just write color of armaments. Color of armament. Is there any speed feats for the Vice Admirals? Right. So, the speed feat for the Vice Admirals... No, there is not, actually. It kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you. It kind of really does sort of suck. Also, this guy, Pomsky, he just took it down with a single hit. He just sort of uppercutted. He kind of sort of just uppercutted the, yeah, he just uppercuts it, like, with a kick, and he puts it down in a single fucking hit. I don't know, man. I had a pressing thought I wanted to ask. How strong do you think crocodiles, banana gators are? Do you think they could hunt larger sea kings? Larger sea kings, no. Smaller ones, yes. This was a conversation. This is a bit of scaling in conversation that some of my mods brought up to me. I don't exactly agree with the idea that, like, those banana gators are able to just hunt every single type of sea beast, even if they prey on some of them. Sorry, sea kings. Only because, like, some of the sea kings are, objectively speaking, way too large for any of these things to, you know, eat. Yeah, they disabled the pacifistas not only more efficiently than the Straw Hats did, but they also did it with a single kick to the fucking face, and in her case, 2 kicks. The Hmong ones there, okay. Anyway, all the Vice Admirals should at least know the 6 techniques, right? They all should know 6 powers, in this case, Geppo. At the very least, they should all know Geppo. And, it's Soru and Geppo. They should all know those techniques at the very least. The thing here... the thing here is that, like, let's talk about speed for a second, right? Yeah, they all have Haki. It's kind of... I'm gonna just say it. I have no way to actually speed scale these guys. I don't think I actually have, like, a real efficient way of speed scaling them. None of the Vice Admirals really do anything that impressive, at least as far as Egghead goes. They do, like, you could say, like, well, they blitzed the Pacifista before they shot, but the Pacifistas were still charging the entire time. And they were kind of blasted by cannonballs. If you watch the anime version, I'm not sure if, it's gonna show it here, but when, like, some of the pacifistas do get shot while trailing behind with the, let me see if I can find it here. They are kind of slower. Like, you see how, like, the Marine battleships are already hitting them before they do that? It's potentially easy to just argue, at least against the Vice Admirals, that, like, they're slower than the cannon fire. So it kind of boils down to one of two things. Either you think that cannon fire in One Piece was Pomsky's feat canon. It's in the anime, and I'm willing to consider that canon. If it's in the anime and it's also part of a canon arc from the manga, I don't care if it's an added scene. I'm counting it as canon. I really don't care what anyone says. Especially since I don't have much else to go off of for him. Then the Vice Admirals cooked Luffy during Marineford. Marineford, Luffy should be able to react to a light speed through Zoro scaling. Not just that, but also, again, you can't exactly say that all Vice Admirals scale to the exact same extent of speed and strength. And also, yeah, like Jake said, Luffy was exhausted. There's an argument that, like, Luffy was in second gear at one point, I think, but it's a bit weird, man. I don't know. At that point, you could probably argue, like, a multitude of different things, like the Vice Admirals weren't going at top speed, so that way they could, so that way the Pacifistas could get hit with, the explosive cannon fire first. You could argue that the cannon fire is faster than the Admirals, who are all light speed, going off of other Admirals' scaling, meaning that these Cannonballs shot from the Marine battleships that haven't been upgraded in 2 years also shoot at the speed of light. Or you can argue that the pacifistas were charging for too long, and blah, 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 blah. You guys see where I'm going with this, right? Like, it's very hard to, like, actually using your logic, but what makes them island to mountain level? If we're going by, like... So, again, I have to go, again, by my metrics. By my metrics, I have to go off of stuff like this because I don't go off of calc scaling. I don't go off of calc scaling. All of that means nothing to me, at least in terms of my own metrics. So I have to go off of stuff like this, right? I can't... Nothing here says that they are mountain level. Nothing here says that they are island level. Could I agree that Luffy is potentially island level in post-time skip because he was going to destroy an entire ship that was going to wipe out an entire island? Potentially so, yes. But again, I have also no way of bridging those vice admirals. I have no way of bridging those vice admirals to post-time skip, third gear, armament hockey Luffy, because there's nothing there for me to go off of. Yeah, they vary greatly in capabilities, and it again makes things very difficult for me to go off of. If you want to say that all of these vice admirals are like as strong, stronger than, or weaker than Smoker, you would probably be able to get, like, even just having a single statement, and I don't know if there is one. I'd have to, like, I don't know, look through all of fucking Punk Hazard for it. I don't think it'd be there since Doll was released afterwards. This is where, by the way, guys, this is what I'm trying to show you, that, like, this is where, like, my thought process is. Again, this is just to show you guys also where my thought process is, right? It's not as easy as just scaling, well, they scale around this guy who can do these things, right? Like, it's not ever that simple. If there's no bridge, it makes things a lot more consistently difficult. And I don't want to say that this is a bad thing either, right? I'm still going to talk about Red King punching out one of these giant sea beasts that is, again, about as large as, or if not larger than, a Marine battleship that is 60 meters long. Pomsky able to take out, so not Pomsky, Red King that's able to take out one of these things. Like, there's a lot that I can go off of here still, but the thing is that it will ultimately boil down to, and I'm just going to be, these are low balls, and personally think this should be small to large country ranges. That's all fine. That's all completely fine. It just causes a bit of an issue, at least in my opinion, because it basically boils down to, like, the following, right? Like, let me just show you right here. You see how big this hippo guy is? You see how, like, big the hippo guy is? And Red King is able to one-shot this thing that is, like, larger and, you know, longer than a 60-meter ship. When I brought up the heights and the sizes for Gamabunta, and then from there, you know, making rough estimations for how big the tailed beasts are, I can give them 20 meters. I'm willing to extend it to that. I'm not going to give it any more, but... yeah, he's still a really funny design. I'm not going to lie to you. But it's crazy that a guy with that funny-ass design, unironically, might actually punch harder than Sakura. Like, people can talk all the shit they want about... Sakura's not punching something like this, something as big as this out, in my opinion. Because this is also, like, just some big fucking... This is also not, like, some big hippopotamus either, right? Like, I want you to think about it. This is a hippo fish. You know how tough hippopotamuses are? Hippopotamuses. Anyway, doesn't matter. And it's also being upgraded with metal and fucking hard pieces of technology all over its head, and it got shattered. It didn't get broken. It wasn't bent in. It was shattered. Look at that. He's literally breaking apart metal, shattering it. So, it causes that bit of an issue. It causes that bit of a discrepancy. Mind you, Killer Bee, the 8-tails, even if I say you could scale them with the Sea King scaling, considering that the fact that the robot Sea Beasts are greater than Sea Beasts, I have nothing to go off of that, though. Again, so that's the issue with that 6, is that, like, we could use the island scaling for the knock-up strings, but we actually talked about that last time. Sea King and Sea Beasts aren't the same, and there's, again, nothing to bridge. I'm trying to find, like, the argument that has the least amount of counter arguments, or the least amount of, like, eyebrow raises, and saying that these modified sea beasts, I 100% agree with the logical deduction or induction that a mechanized sea beast is likely much more dangerous than a regular Sea King that can tank an island size updraft or a giant sea beast. I am 100% in agreement, but there is nothing that concretely or even remotely implies it. That's the one unfortunate part of it. There's nothing to bridge that. You're saying that mecha sea beasts are literally stronger than sea kings, but again, I have to prove that somehow. It's not just about me saying it, well, they should be. I agree. These things would likely be stronger than a sea king, or at least any sea king that isn't like the super massive ones that can hold on to the Noah, right? If it's not those, I can 100% agree, but I have nothing to go off of. That's just my biggest issue. So, when discussing, like, let's say Naruto B, I do think that any one of the Vice Admirals can hurt them, right? I do think that at least if any of the Vice Admirals are as strong, or at least relative to one another, this feat should be easy for any of them to replicate, right? Plus, this one's larger than the ones who tanked the knockup stream. Again, I agree with you. I have nothing other than, like, logical reasoning to go off of, and I don't want to base my video on anything that doesn't... Yeah, it's just hard to find something concrete connected within the story for the Vice Admirals. And that's my point. I have no issue with any of the lines of scaling that you guys are saying, right? I have no issue with saying that they should be large. This is larger and tougher than, like, let's say the Sea King that survived the knockup stream. I have no issue with saying that if this thing was shot up 10,000 meters above water level because of a knockup stream, I have no issue with saying that this thing could survive it. I have no issue with any of that. It's just, it isn't concrete and nothing is stated in order to imply it. That's why I don't want to go. I think these Vice Admirals are tough to scale outside of just guesswork. But that's the thing, and this is why I actually wanted to say this might actually be a good thing. You see, part of the thing that I'm trying to do with this video isn't just to show that, like, you know, the Vice Admirals are tough and everything and how strong Naruto and B are, even as a two-man army, because I'll be honest, a Buster Call is no joke even within the world of One Piece, but it's also not the biggest thing to take to like have to deal with if you have a group of characters that are powerful enough. Naruto and B being able to solo the ships alone is actually quite impressive in my opinion. I don't think that, like, the Straw Hats, especially pre-time skip, could handle an entirety of a Buster Call, whether they have the Thousand Sunny or the Going Merry. I don't think it's possible for them to really deal with the entirety of a Buster Call on an island or even defend an island from it. So B and Naruto being able to stop at least the ships alone, maybe not alone, but like together, I think that's all well and down. Well, Sea Beasts and Sea Kings in general have a strength hierarchy when it comes to size, pretty heavily implied. But are Sea Beasts confirmed? Can you give me like a page or like a manga chapter that like implies that like Sea Beasts and Sea Kings are like relative to one another? That's kind of just where I'm trying to come from. Well, that's the thing, right? Some people are going to argue, and these are not my arguments, but there is a common trope within power scaling that people like to go into, where it's, just to give you an example, I'll give X was one-shotted by a mountain level attack. Therefore, X has below mountain level Jura, right? Durability. Then some people like to say X tanked a mountain level attack with decent damage. Therefore, X can tank anything below mountain level 0 difficulty. This is the type of thought process, 0 diff. This is the type of thought process that many power scalers seem to... Are you talking about the Neptunians? Oh yeah, the Neptunians. Let me look this up actually real quick. Where's the thing to look it up? World media characters. Yeah, Sea Kings. Yeah, no, they vary in they do generally vary in size. Like some of them are even larger than islands. You know what I mean? Sea Kings, these are like the only ones I think we know of right now. Non-canon, lower the coast, Wano. Sea Kings, made trade, exceptionally difficult. Sea Beasts. Is a class of large aquatic mammals that inhabit the Grand Line, notable for their uncanny resemblance to surface animals. The first sea beast in the series is the sea cow Momu. Though similar in habit and behavior, they should not be confused with sea kings, the generally larger and more vicious non-mammals that inhabit the One Piece oceans. All this talk about mechas is making me think Mecha Naruto versus a pacifista. That would be pretty funny. So what was my point? All right. So a lot of people like to discuss Mary scaling. It tanked the knockup stream and reversed mountain, ripped off its mast and ease. Yeah, but it was also fully, it was also like transformed and upgraded so that it could tank the knockup stream in the first place. The villains that are compelling, that I always give bonus points for that. 5 something. When the fuck did Naruto and B shoot tailed beast bombs at like the Nintentails? Yeah. We're gonna go up like 5 chapters. 601. Yeah. Okay, I don't care about Crybaby McGee over here. Oh no, he turned evil. Okay. Yeah, right here. So, it flicks the tailed beast bomb back at B. Explodes. Whoop. Causes an explosion in the air. Yeah. So, I want to give you guys an example, right? Eon, it had no durability upgrades, just the upgrades to its sail, the knockup stream. Yeah, no, but they literally... No. That's the thing, though. They literally upgraded it so that it could withstand the knockup stream. I remember we went over this on stream. What was it? 280... No, that's way too... Death Pia. It was like, what, 218? 220 something? We have to go back up. What is it, like... 7 chapters... No, we have to keep going up. Damn, I should have just downloaded the damn page. Do I have it here? That's Sabaody. Do we have Long Ring Long? Skypiea. Delete. This all comes... No, so I don't have it, actually. Damn it, we're gonna have to look for this. So it has to be a couple of chapters back. Let's go to 229. Okay. Hurled up, it'll be catastrophic. Something away. The monster's E-curve based on speculation. This is the theory. You have to use the knockup stream. Okay, in the Koshin area. But wouldn't it just smash against us and the ships? That's what I heard back to. That's usually what happens. The critical thing. It may sound easy, but it's exceptionally violent to be hurled up with unavoidable costs. But unpredictable currents. It would be nothing when it came crashing down. He's right. A ship would never make it, even if it were brand new. Speed, but don't worry, your ship can be reinforced. Yeah, no, they upgraded it. They upgraded it. They reinforced the ship so it would be able to tank it. I think it was its fall. I think it was like the massive fall that it had heading into Long Ring Long. Okay. So, a lot of people believe that, like, if X character tanked a mount level attack with decent damage, therefore X can tank anything below mount level. Something that I feel like people consistently make as a mistake whenever trying to scale characters is that if a character has, let's say their durability equates to their attack potency, and their attack potency is, again, mountain level, right? They seem to for some reason believe if an attack has the capacity to hit them with, like, let's say city level, building level, island level, whatever the fuck it is, right? If a character, for example, hey, what's up, Memento Mori? If a character, for example, has durability that allows them to tank a mountain level attack, let's say in this case Killer B, with decent well, in this case heavy damage, some people will believe that Killer B will, at that point, you have to hit him with mountain level attacks. That's not entirely true. We've seen that attacks that don't deal as much physical damage but can knock the character back, electrocute, burn, singe, freeze, etc. They have different effects based on the character and based on, like, the resistances, so on and so forth. Also, I'm going to need to just take this panel right here just so I don't lose it for later. 229 P9. We're gonna take that. P10. I just checked the chapter. There's no to directly confirm the Sea Beast weapons are above Sea Kings. Yeah. There's nothing to confirm it. So that's why I'm saying, like, the Sea King, the Sea King knock-up stream stuff just doesn't confirm anything. You can base the speculation if you want off of your own personal beliefs. I have no issue with that. I think it's honestly a pretty fair interpretation to at least assume that they're probably just being reinforced with metal and other different technological, like, gadgets, etc. I do think it would make them probably tougher, if not at least as tough as a Sea King, but there's just nothing to actually confirm it hands down. You know what I mean? If we're comparing novel versions of the Arc to Chimera, I can't agree. Basically, the ratio of energy or force, energy matters. You actual AP and durability values, not just total energy of an attack by itself. 1 second. 29P4. Okay, let me reread that. Basically, the ratio of energy and volume of force and surface area matters for getting actual AP and durability values, not just the total energy of an attack by itself. I think that a lot of things, I think that there are a lot of different ways that you can try to calculate attack potency, but the point I'm just trying to make here is that, like, for example, if we're going to say that, like, this Tailed Beast Bomb is a mountain busting attack, this full power Tailed Beast Bomb, you know what, fuck it, let's say it's a mountain range level attack. Just because it's a mountain range level attack that leaves Killer B or the Eight Tails looking like this, it doesn't mean that you need an attack of equal or relative power in order to deal any kind of damage at all. Some people seem to believe that if you say Naruto is continental, then an attack that has mountain level attack potency, country level attack potency, city level attack potency will objectively do 0 damage. But no, it'll do some damage, it will just do a lot less damage. I'm still on research. How long do you usually finish a video? I don't usually need this much research, but the thing is that I'm talking about characters that I've never spoken about before and don't have that much scaling, so I'm trying to formulate an argument that is at the very least reasonable enough for one to argue. In Doll's case, I'm basically just saying that she is at the very least stronger than the entirety of the Straw Hat crew, who could split massive buildings, who could defeat opponents that split massive buildings, and they can essentially destroy enormous, it's just the limits of his defense is high, so higher power attacks will ensure more damage. Smaller skills up can hurt, but not as much. 100%. It can hurt, but not as much. Think of it like a health bar. If this attack dealt 70% or 80% of the damage necessary to put him out, since he it obviously did not one-shot him, at least by, like, you know, normal scales. Also, since he says right here that, like, you know, taking a bit of rest, I'm also at my limit. You know, they've been taking, like, these massive level of hits. Granted, they also did tank a very powerful attack from it, you know, having to chuck itself up with its tails, but it wasn't enough to like for sure say, hey, I couldn't do this, right? They had to essentially like really harden their defenses to tank that attack. In Killer Bee's case, that was his own tailed beast bomb, and it dealt a fuck ton of damage to him, right? And then not to say that, you know, the Ten Tails is any weaker than the Killer Bee. The subject of this video requires a lot of research. It does. When you recommended me this idea, IMAX, I didn't think I'd actually have to like think about this as thoroughly as I am doing it right now. It's a bit annoying, but I'm not gonna lie to you. It also, I feel like, does help. It does help me show you guys how difficult it can be to essentially make one of these videos when you're trying to think about it as, you know, holistically as possible. Though I would argue that the One Piece characters have a resistance to actually being bisected by slashes that go through even when they get caught up in front somehow. I mean, you could definitely make the argument like Luffy being chopped up by like Kaido's demolition twister breath, which, like, you know, sends out actual slashing attack that cleave through mountains. You know what I mean? Where like Luffy is being slashed up by this, his body's simply just not being severed. If someone has more mountain level durability, it doesn't mean that the only attacks that have mountain level durability AP will work. 100%. All I'm trying to say here is that, like, the punches and kicks that the Vice Admirals should be capable of dishing out to these giant sea beasts, even if you want to say this is not mountain level, even if you want to say it's these sea beasts do not have the same durability as Naruto or Killer Bee, I'm fine with somebody trying to argue it. It does not mean that they will not deal any damage, and it does not mean that they won't just, you know, it won't sound like a fucking squeaky toy as soon as like the impact hits, right? Killer Bee, I don't care. I am going to say this very clearly. This thing is at least like 5 times larger than Killer Bee, right? This is a marine battleship. This thing dwarfs a marine battleship, and a marine battleship is at the very least 3 times the size of Killer Bee. I do not care what side of the spectrum you are from. If he gets punched by an attack that is probably larger than the entirety, that it deals this much destructive force from an attack that is likely larger than the Eight Tails itself, I do not think Killer Bee or Naruto is walking away from it. At least without reeling from, not so much without reeling from the pain, but without at the very least saying, holy shit, these guys punch harder than Tsunade. You know what I mean? It isn't a matter of whether or not the attacks do no damage or the attacks one shot. It's a matter of, will they deal damage? I think yes. Okay. Now, moving on, considering that she can also use the advanced, she can also use advanced armament hockey mission in order to bring down a giant. I need the chapter number for that. Excuse me. Let's go to Egghead. What chapter does she put down one of these marine dudes? Over here, we need to get to the giant. Punches, does the thing. This guy, this lady, stuff and stuff, through and through. I need the page where she... Okay, there we go. Rock and Roll Blaster. What is this sort of display? Let's go to 117 page. Let's go to 117 real quick. $11.17. Okay. Oimo and Kashi. I forget which one's Oimo and which one's Kashi. Tsunade punches pretty hard. I don't disagree that Tsunade punches pretty damn hard. I 100% agree with that. But what I'm saying is, if we're talking destructive capacity, these guys punch harder. She does not have a feat that is even remotely as big as just this getting blown out. Neither does Sakura. And in terms of like scaling up her attack potency, there's kind of nothing to really go off of. Like, what are we gonna say? She cracked the Susanoo ribcage. It's kind of it. So that's Oimo. So then this is Kashi. Kashi. Yeah. So this is Kashi. To bring down the giant Kashi. Kashi in a single attack. In a single barrage. Considering that she can also use to bring down a barrage, I think it's at the very least fair. It's at the very least fair to say that... How big are the giants on average? About 17 meters tall. Tsunade did more damage than a massive Rasengan. Yeah, but the massive Rasengan, you actually can't equate it to mountain level attack potency. You can't exactly equate it to mountain level attack potency because there's no way to bridge it to Sage Jiraiya. You can say that it's maybe half as strong as it. You could say maybe it's, I don't know, half, a quarter, whatever value below 10 times you think that Naruto's massive Rasengan is, or like, yeah, basically whatever value below 10 times you think that Naruto's Rasengan is weaker than Jiraiya's massive Rasengan, that's about what you can say, and even then, like, what does that really mean? If we're gonna say that it's as strong as the massive Rasengan, then that just means she her attack potency is above mountain level. That kind of is where it just cliffs off. There's just nothing, like absolutely nothing to make it go higher. Guys, if you're gonna ask me a question that doesn't exactly pertain to this conversation, I don't think I'm gonna answer it, but I'll do. Wasn't some Biju Bomb calc to be country level? I don't go by calcs. I don't care what people equate to based on pixel scaling and shit. It genuinely doesn't mean anything to me, so you have to ask somebody else. If you do go by calcs, somebody else can definitely give you this answer better. Can you explain why some people say that Naruto the Last makes him moon to planetary? Last time I checked, he bodied Tonari, who cut the moon with hacks TSO. How does that make... Because it's weird, man. Like, people will say that, like, the TSO are all hacks or whatever. They destroy everything. But then if you're making a blade out of TSO to essentially an energy blade out of the TSO, which is not exactly TSO, but if you want to make it out of TSO, then doesn't that mean it just sliced it with the existence erasure of the TSO? It's weird, man. I don't know. I don't really argue Naruto the Last, to be honest. I haven't really watched it yet. Or at least, again, I have to rewatch it. I think it's at the very least fair to say that she has experience. Unk face reveal when? After 10k, probably. If I can get a camera, I'll probably won't even wait till like a subscription. I'll probably just do it one day. I do want to start like implementing my face, not only because I think it'll make editing videos a little bit easier, especially if I'm like... I'll put it like this. I think that it'll essentially make videos easier to edit, because that way I don't have to just like throw random stuff up on the screen at times. I can also just like have myself talking for the camera. I think it'll make editing just a bit easier. I think it's I think it's fair to say, at the very least fair to say, that she has experience fighting, eating extremely large opponents. Extremely large opponents. Like the tailed beasts. I want to emphasize that... See you later, Michael. That this... I want to emphasize that this feat... That... Yeah, this feat... does have some merit for her being capable of combating against even fully transformed, even Eight Tails B, because the giant she took out was also 17 meters tall, which is the same exact size as Gamma Bunta's cannon height. Since Gamma Bunta fought Shukaku, who was slightly taller than him, and Shukaku scales to about the same size as all the other tailed beasts. That means, I think it's fair to say, that B at his biggest is anywhere around 17 to 20 meters tall, give or take. I know it's a bit strange to hear me say that the walking nuke factories that are the tailed beasts are only about 17 meters tall, but I have absolutely nothing. I'm gonna make this all capital. Nothing to go off of. But I have absolutely nothing to go off of. There isn't a single canon statement. A single canon statement within the entirety of the Naruto manga that implies the height of any of the tailed beasts and to reiterate, I use pixel scaling because whatever number someone gets is not canon. So Whitebeard and Kurama have destroying society that gets them the high multi-continental by surface wiping over time, and the context makes Whitebeard's statement higher. What are you guys talking about? Yeah, but Dofi's ability literally can one-shot most people in that regard. Naruto, I'd actually give the feat that's moon level.
Couldn't be my goat Luffy with his planetary. What feat does Luffy have that's planetary? Eon is writing a script and we're talking about 5 different things in chat. Igaram's explosion calc is another thing to use. Yeah, but I don't use calcs, Jake. I don't use calcs, man. Sorry about that. Okay. Because whatever number someone gets is not canon. Unless the author says that number... Unless the author says whatever size calc person... Actually, I don't think I need that. I don't use pixel calcs because whatever number somebody reaches by is not actually canon, and they don't inherently... Wouldn't Naruto and B not be able to dodge multiple pacifista beams at the same time? At the same time? Like, if a pacifista shot a, let's say, like a barrage of like 3-4 blasts at the same time, there's an argument that they can react to them. I don't think there's an argument if, like, depending on, like, how many pacifistas we're talking about. If they're, like, circled by pacifistas and they're locked on, I don't think they're dodging all of that. Because that's multiple beams of light that they have to not only outrun, but outmaneuver. And mind you, the pacifistas can also shoot multiple beams of light at once. Like how they can shoot multiple tailed beast bombs. I get that, but I don't have much else to go off of, man. Like, oh, big explosion, sure. You could get Luffy by calc stacking starting from Dressrosa's continental scale. Yeah, I do that. Okay, yeah, I could do that, yeah. The Thousand is 50-ish meters in, isn't it? Like, already like 5 times bigger than Kurama, so the sea beasts are like... Well, Kurama is, at the very least, 17 meters tall on the smallest end. Like, it's at least 17 meters tall on the smallest end. I'd probably argue, like, lengthwise, probably make it, like, maybe twice as long. But, yeah, no, Kurama's not that big. The Thousand Sunny is, if you want to say it's canonic 56 meters, and you want to say that Kurama's like 18 meters tall, it's at least 3 times its size. Yeah, let me, that is not technically canon. Technically canon. Unless the author writes it off, I don't care what number you reach. If the author does not say that number is right, I do not care how consistent the values are. Multiplier calcs aren't calc stacking since multipliers are accurate, and the problem people have with calc stacking is that the calcs you base it on might be inaccurate. Yeah, not even that. Half the time it isn't even because like they're inaccurate. Half the time it's just because it's like, well, you got Luffy, for example, if I could get Luffy easily on a massive low ball to 270,000 times the speed of light off of just a 30 times amp and a 10 times amp. God, I can't believe we're at the point where we're seriously considering Vice Admirals beating KCM1, Naruto, and B. Isn't it kind of crazy? Anyway. Next, let's talk about Vice Admiral. Next, let's talk about Vice Admiral Bluegrass. Unlike all the other... Would Naruto B not be able to dodge multiple pacifista beams at the same time? If so... Well, it depends on how you want to say it, right? Because, like, what are we talking here? Like, we're talking... If you're saying, can, like, Naruto react to the beams themselves, I think with KCM1 he should be able to react to them, right? I do think that, like, if a pacifista beam is shot at him, if he just, like, immediately kicks into high gear and just runs as fast as he can, yeah, he can escape the fucking blast range easily, right? Given, like, you know, equal distances, I do think that, like, even with the pacifista beam, you know, being shot at him, I do think he would be able to do it. I don't think... If so, they're kind of screwed without upscale. Well, you don't have to do it because they're not fighting against pacifista. And a Buster Call doesn't necessarily have pacifista in it, right? It also not calc stacking because it's actually getting stacked where you're just using base context and statement to determine the multiplier for Gear 4 by using the stronger and faster than Gear 2. Yeah. Are chump change on the One Piece verse? They're not really chump change. I mean, I don't know how many characters are doing some of the shit that these guys are doing. Like, maybe this is because, like, there are just a lot of One Piece characters, but I do think that, like, if you just take in, like, the actual population of, like, the One Piece verse, like, let me just be honest with you, right? How many people
How many people are realistically within the One Piece verse that aren't an actual combatant, like a named pirate or whatever? How many people are actually doing some shit like this, right? Like, I do think that, like, the vice admirals are kind of, like, downplayed quite a bit. Yeah, no, they're not dealing with pacifistas. A Buster Call has never actually had pacifistas in it. There's never, like, if you want to refer to, like, Egghead, those were pacifistas designed to protect Egghead Island. They weren't designed with the Buster Call itself. The pacifistas have nothing to do with the Buster Call. Yeah. No. I know you're talking about multiple pacifista beams at the same time. What I'm saying is, are they being shot from separate directions from multiple pacifistas, or are they being shot or there's just like one pacifista standing in front of Naruto and B and just shooting at them with both hands, right? Did same Smoker, though he could argue the Vice Admirals for Buster Calls are top ones, besides Garp. Yeah. I do think that, like, they're not Garp, but they're also not, like, weak. They might be just below the Warlords, depending on where you scale some of the Warlords. Because, like, some of the Warlords are honestly, like, kind of dog shit weak. Like, I would honestly argue Doll can probably put down Moria. Like, unironically, I do think that, like, Doll could probably put them out. Imagine if every Buster Call had pacifistas and S-Hawk. Okay, see, that at that point, I have to throw in, like, KCM2 Naruto. At that point, I might just have to throw in fucking Six Path Naruto. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I throw in pacifistas, KCM Naruto. If I throw in the fucking Seraphim, yeah, no, we have to go with Six Paths at that point. They're not hurting them otherwise. Out of Prime, Moria is buns, but Prime Moria slams. Prime Moria, all he did was last 3 days against Kaido, and he got completely and utterly destroyed. I'm gonna be honest with you. Besides the whole, like, him lasting 3 days and Kaido never once seemingly using Haki on him, I don't know, man. I don't know. Moria kind of is a bump to me. Moria was in a 23-year depressive slump and was at his weakest. At his prime, he was comparable to Kaido. I don't know about comparable to him. All I saw them would do was, like, clash with one another. All that, like, the only time you ever see them do anything was, like, that one clash, and you can argue Kaido wasn't using... You could honestly argue Kaido wasn't using Haki. Kozuki Moria is a top tier in his prime. Alright. Alright, Kozuki is crazy. But remember, even out of shape Moria was making a joke out of pre... Yeah, but he was making a joke out of pre-time skip Luffy because he was, because, like, he uses, like, misdirection, and he tries to trick Luffy. Don't ever slander Kozuki Moria again. Fuck Moria, how about that? I'm glad he went into that deep depression. How about that? I'm glad... I don't think so. I don't agree with that. Kaido also likes to enjoy his fights. Like, to be fair though, didn't Kaido also fight Big Mom for, like, over an entire evening and they didn't hurt each other? You only hate him because he bodies Sukuna. He does not body Sukuna. He loses to a single world-cutting slash. I will actually make this video and I will glaze the fuck out of Sukuna. And I will make Moria look so bad. Don't think I won't. I'm not above creating my own agenda. I might have to unsubscribe. Moria slander is not tolerated. Oh, that's crazy. Moria gets blitzed and one-shot by Sukuna. How about that? You guys just want to hurt me. You guys are just trying to piss me off and hurt me, and you know what? You're more than welcome to do it. But anyway, back to this. Small breakover. Prime Moria negs. Prime Moria gets curb stomped by a single slash to the head from Sukuna. Moria's FTL, plus he blitzed. What the fuck? No, the fuck he's not. Alright, now let's talk about Vice Admiral Blue Eyes. Unlike all the other VAs, she doesn't rely on raw physical stats in order to defeat her opponents. They're all seemingly I'll talk about speed at, like, around the very end in order to defeat her opponents. She is a fuck, what is she again? Bluegrass.
A bounty of 500 million? Yo, quick question.
If Bluegrass has a bounty of 500 million, does that make her as strong as as post time skip Luffy? Into a driving human. She is a devil fruit user that ate the Nori no Mi, which turned her into a driving human. Devil fruit merchant, you mean? Oh, man. I'm not gonna believe Kozuki Moria is actually Gecko Moria. I just believe that his dad or relative or something. The Marine have some freak abilities. One of them rides things, another one locks people up, and another one whips people into obeying. And another one turns people into fucking clothing. Drying clothing. I think it manifests. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anyway. By the way, nobody spoil 1159. Are we at 1159 yet? Yeah. No, 58. Damn. Allows users to control when it takes a right eye, mechanical or otherwise, regardless of the own user's will or anything else influencing them. A driving human. By writing, I'm just gonna write by writing on by taking a ride on an object or person, she can gain full control over whomever or whatever she is writing, regardless of their free will, or what did it say here? That was your own target's will or anything influencing them. Anything influencing them.
In the new chapter, Moria says it's Moriing time and Moriad all over Kaido. Trust, alright. Right, so this is where it's going to also get a little bit complicated. She was capable of writing a pacifista and controlling it regardless of its defense directive of its control hierarchy. Right, that's what it said. Override the command hierarchy of its command hierarchy. Regardless of its command. She was capable of writing a pacifista and controlling it regardless of his command hierarchy. And, okay. She's honestly one of the more complicated characters to talk about when it comes to this specific topic. Boundless Kaido is crazy. Now Sukuna versus Caribou is a matchup I want to see. Fuck you. Fuck you. Would it be Genjutsu level stuff? Okay, so let me just go over my thought process with you guys. I already have it written down here.
Bluegrass is a little bit weird in that it's stated, at least by her, that she can control anything and anyone that she rides, regardless of whatever the fuck it might possibly be. In her case, it's kind of complicated because, oh man, it's kind of complicated because there's never been an example. I mean, she was just introduced as a character literally in the last arc. There's never been like an example of like somebody or something being able to fight through her capacity to control it. I mean, all she really did was take over a pacifista and a sea beast. Free will. She's capable of riding a pacifista and a sea beast and controlling them regardless of its command hierarchy. Riding a pacifista and a sea beast. Was capable and controlled them regardless of their the pacifista's command hierarchy and the sea beast's instincts. Suguna could win with the world-cutting slasher domain expansion, though. Haki only stops a Devil Fruit Hack's ability. I do have a genuine question. Does Haki negate the actual hacks or the Devil Fruit? It can nullify its effects on you, but it doesn't outright just negate the Devil Fruit as a whole. I've actually been forming like an argument lately that implies that while you need massive amounts of Haki, or at least you have to be severely stronger than another individual in order to be able to flex your Haki to the degree that it's able to negate and outright, negate the effects of a Devil Fruit on you, like when Law did it against what's his face? This guy, Doc Q. But the issue with that is that, like, I think there's also an argument to be made that Advanced Conqueror's Haki, it's not stated anywhere. Let me be clear. This is not stated anywhere. This is just my own logical induction. There's an argument to be made that Advanced Conqueror's Haki actually does give you the bonus of weakening Devil Fruit abilities or their damage on you. You can actually see this with Garp when he's fighting Kuzan, because every single time that Garp breaks through all of Kuzan's frozen sculptures or his frozen body, he's using Advanced Conqueror's Haki to literally smash his way right out of it. I think that it has the ability to at least affect how severe an ability can affect you to a rather large degree, or at least a larger degree than just flexing out regular Haki. What I'm trying to say is that if two characters, one with regular Haki and the other one with Conqueror's Haki, with Advanced Conquerors, if both of them are affected by a similar Devil Fruit, the one with armament Haki, let's say like the gap is about the same. The one with regular Haki would have to flex their Haki a lot more with a lot more force, so to speak, in the same way that like Law did it, so to speak. They would have to flex their Haki, or like the difference would have to be like greater for them to be able to, like break out of it. But for someone with Advanced Conqueror's Haki, I think there's a very easy argument to make that, it's a lot less work for them to like, negate the effects on themselves. You know what I mean? I do think there are like also, I do think that there are like also different scales to this. Like, for example, is the ability that's being applied to you, is it an awakened ability, like how Kid could apply to Big Mom, or like how Law could apply to his Kroom, which could then apply to Big Mom, right? Like, I think in case of awakenings it might be a little different. It's not black and white. Imagine trying to Haki so much you end up ripping ass. Would have been very awkward for Law. It would have been very awkward for Law, but I'm not gonna lie to you, it also would have been pretty funny considering he was turning himself back into a man.
Probably some weird lowbrow humor of like men farting a lot while women never do. I don't know. That's just me though.
She's honestly one of the more complicated. The next, let's talk about Vice Admiral Bluegrass. When it comes to a specific topic, which I will go into later. I will go into shortly. As for Vice Admiral Red King may look weird and is definitely up there for the top 5 worst One Piece character designs. But genuinely wouldn't sleep on his right hook.
Eon Swan, what's good, Mr. Poopy? I think some devil fruits, though, you just can't hockey negate whatsoever. Like, no, I think Sugar's hobby fruit or Perona's hollow fruit can also be affected by hockey, but only again if the difference is massive enough. In Luffy and Law's case, they just didn't know that they could negate devil fruit abilities by like warping. I think Law only figured that out because he was in fucking Wano with Big Mom and Kaido, and he already tried to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's one of those cases where like you'd have to just be straight up flexing the hell out of your hockey in order to really do it. No, I don't think that hockey can just negate any versus hacks.
I don't believe that. I like to keep things within the context of the stories themselves. Hockey negates devil fruit abilities. It negates a lot of crazy shit, but you have to sort of give me an example. But I only believe it because I've seen it, because it is implied within the story. For you to say that hockey can negate, I don't know, the virus thing that they used in Boruto, or that Boro used in Boruto. For you to tell me that hockey can negate, I don't know, some weird JJK ability like the frames per second thing. But Kaido did not flex hockey versus Law. Yeah, but he was exuding Conqueror's hockey. And his hockey was also way stronger than Law's. Like, he's also, like, way stronger than Law, like, base to base. Yeah, but again, it's only applying to things within the context of the verse. For you to tell me that, like, yeah, but by that logic, it should be able to, like, affect other verses. Like, if, I don't know, they're fighting, if they're fighting Mahito, can Haki, and they should all obviously scale above Mahito, can Haki negate Mahito's, human transfiguration? No, fuck no, I wouldn't argue that, and I would never argue that, because you'd have to show me it negating a curse technique, or you have to show me negating chakra. Like, no verse equalization means that an ability that affects things from the verse itself, that specifically affects things from the verse itself, you have to kind of just stick to those guidelines. But I genuinely wouldn't sleep on his right hook. Okay. To quickly go back on the size comparison of a marine battleship, to quickly go back to a tailed beast, to the size comparison of a tailed beast and a giant like Kashi, to quickly go on a size comparison tangent. That's what I figured as well. Haki negates Devil Fruit abilities. Maybe if Haki... But it's not even so much that, like, Haki negates Haki. It's more so Haki's just overpowering Haki. I don't think that, like, Haki negates Haki. You'd have to give me, like, an example of, like, when Haki has negated another Haki ability. Besides, like, Shanks' future side killing, but I need more info on that to begin with, right? Don't run from the debate, Unk. Lao G or Sukuna? What? Oh, what debate? Lao G or Sukuna? Probably my King Sukuna. World cutting / neg diffs all of fiction. As long as it exists within the context of the universe, it will be split apart. There you go. What up, Meme Master? But Eon, by that logic, Asta's anti-magic can affect magic outside of... Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, no, I think it's fine. If we're talking magic, if we're talking a mana-based power... If we're talking a mana system... a magic system that uses mana as its base, I do think that Asta's anti-magic works on it because it works on all magic. It's anti-magic. If you're talking about like a magic system that works off of a different kind of power source that works completely different than Black Clover's magic by like a wide margin variety, then yeah, no, I'd be willing to say maybe it doesn't, but... Yeah, but Lao G is also like a super old man that doesn't move very well, so I'm not willing to say that. You can't argue that all mana is the same, though. I kind of can, unless you kind of prove that it isn't, right? Actually, no, you can't prove that it isn't. That there's nothing to prove. I don't know, man. It's magic. I think it's a little different when everyone uses magic. Because magic is kind of like this all-encompassing same concept, right? I'm willing to agree that it wouldn't affect it if the magic and mana system, if the magic system doesn't work off of, like, let's say, call it the same power source, XYZ, yada, 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 blah, 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 right? Like, there's a different, there's a very big reason why I say that, like, when doing, like, no verse equalization, you should probably, or when doing verse equalization, you should probably consider how similar they are in the first place, right? Like, you could bring up similarities between any kind of power system or whatever, but like, if someone is using magic as the power system, I do think that an ability that works on all magic would still work on all magic regardless of the verse, unless the magic system just inherently is different. Like, anti-magic works on all magic. I don't know why I would just say that it doesn't, right? But then again, if you don't want to say that it would, but wouldn't that be an argument from similar roots? Wait, what are you talking about? What do you mean from similar roots? No, yeah. The burden of proof would be on me. The burden of proof would be on me. That's 100% true. That's why I retracted that. So like Asta's anti-magic versus Natsu's Dragon Slayer magic. If the magic from the Fairy Tail verse uses mana as a power system, the only real difference is that they don't have fucking tomes. I think the only real difference there is that it just they don't have tomes, but they still make magical circles, they still use it to power up, they still do XYZ. I do think that, like, yeah, Asta would be able to anti-magic someone like him. What do you think of Rox and Harold's breakup? Oh, that shit tore my heart, man. That was honestly my next ship. Honestly, I think they had a closer bond than, like, Naruto and Sasuke. To, like, see them break apart, that shit really broke my heart. But it also makes a very interesting parallel to, like, Luffy eventually having Loki join up his crew. I was thinking about making a video like, Loki will join the Straw Hats. Natsu does not use mana, then okay, then if the Fairy Tail magic doesn't use mana and uses the power of friendship, then I guess it's different enough. Sure. Ether Nano, right? They use Ether Nano. Then yeah, no. Then that's not a good comparison. I don't know if you talk about like magic from like Secret of Mana or some shit. And sorry, similar concepts. It's Eon. Sorry, similar concepts. It's like how people can argue that Haki can be negated by the TSO because it's similar to Chakra. No, but see, that's the difference. They're two completely separate power systems. In this case, they are literally just fucking magic. I don't know how to explain. That's why I don't like using the term magic at all. But that's gonna be difficult on the Sunny. Yeah, they're not similar. I mean, if they're not similar at all, then I'm willing to agree. So, but if they're extremely similar, then I'm willing to say yes. If they're not similar at all, I'm willing to say no. Listen, guys, I really don't care about this conversation. I'm trying to just really focus on this. To quickly go on, it's a matter of semantics at that point. If you want to say, I think like Loki and Hazrudan are gonna be the new giant pirate captains. No, I think that Loki's gonna join Luffy because there's a very big parallel between Loki and Loki, Luffy, and Harold and what's his face? Just look at the comparisons for a second, right? Just like all of Luffy's crewmates before, or at least, you know, prior. I guess a good number of Luffy's crewmates prior to Loki. They were all shackled up, and Luffy was sort of the one who liberated them from their shackles. Sanji was shackled down to the restaurant itself. Zoro was literally, like, held up to a fucking post for a week. For a month, almost a month. It's been a week. He was gonna be there for a month. Nami was tethered down to her island because of Arlong and his pirates. Usopp wanted to go on great adventures, but he didn't have the balls to actually set out to sea on his own and be a pirate. Frankie was tied down to the idea that, like, he couldn't actually ever be a shipwright again, especially after his ships caused all that damage to and essentially are part of the reason why Tom took a fall for him and the reason why he's dead. Robin was shackled by her past. Chopper was shackled down to the idea that he couldn't move past, that he was a monster and that he could never actually have friends. Brook was literally shackled to Thriller Bark because he couldn't escape the fucking island without getting his or the Bermuda Triangle or whatever the fuck it was called, because he just couldn't get out of there because of his his shadow. And yeah, Jinbei was literally found in a fucking prison, right? Loki is not only has Luffy essentially almost completely unshackled literally Loki from most of his stuff, but the only thing that he's missing left is that shackle on his leg that is essentially still tying him down to Elbaf and the past. He's not allowed to essentially be forgiven for his quote-unquote past crime, and it's the only thing that's keeping him from truly utilizing his Devil Fruit, which the only way to truly take advantage of it is to use it by the blood of an ancient giant, or at least as Roxy Zebek put it, he only the only person that is able to take its full power or to fully utilize its potential is someone like Harold, and in this case, Loki is Harold's son, who's also an ancient giant. I think, in my opinion, that Luffy telling him to join his crew, Luffy telling Loki to join his crew wasn't just some random spur of the moment thing. I think he actually wants Loki to join him. It's not just a massive increase for like the Straw Hats' full power or as a crew, and it's not. And I don't think that's the reason for Luffy, but it's because that way Luffy can take full responsibility for someone like Loki in case Loki does act the fuck up. In my opinion, you versus English robber with a shank. An English robber with a shank. What's he gonna steal from me? My phone and keys. Is he gonna offer me a bottle of water? Like, no, I'm sorry. I would do the cops. Then do you think Yamato will join the crew since Luffy freed Yamato? Luffy did not free Yamato at all. Did he? Actually, he probably did. But Yamato herself decided. Yamato was basically going to join the crew. She just decided to stay in fucking... Yamato was basically going to join the crew, actually. She just decided to stay in Thing. Yeah, no, she just decided to stay in Wano. Yamato still has every chance to also join the crew, but I'm actually more convinced that he did. You're right. Yeah, he literally broke apart the shackles. But no, yeah, Yamato, I definitely do think can still join the crew. Luffy said he wanted 10 men, but I don't know why he can't just have 11, right? Anyway, I think there's a very big parallel there, especially with Rox wanting Harold to join him and Harold always saying no, and in the same parallel, Loki is likely going to say no to Luffy, but then after Luffy probably becoming the person that not only rips the shackles off or gives him the key to essentially get rid of the last thing that's stopping him from using his power, he's also probably going to see Luffy as the actual sun god Nika, or he's probably going to see that like Luffy's Devil Fruit is probably similar enough to his own, whatever the fuck's going on there, and it would be a very big difference there between, Loki joining Luffy's crew because he sees the kind of man that Luffy is, and that's the kind of man that he might want to follow, unlike Rox, who Loki originally wanted to follow, but maybe will realize that that's not the right way that he wants to maybe take things, or maybe it's a situation where like the reason why Harold didn't join Roxas crew is because of the kind of man that he was, right? Maybe through showing him the kind of man that he is, yeah, I do think that, like, Bonnie and Vivi are also part... I do think that Vivi is technically a part of the Straw Hat crew. She can be their fucking, Talk about the demon? I think Vivi will join. I don't think Loki will directly join. He'll probably end up with the fleet. No, I think Loki will join. I think that it's more than likely Loki to join than Vivi is. All things considered, especially since we saw him in that giant banner. He has to still be alive, and he has to be a part of the Straw Hat. Or at least, he has to, like, fight with them in the final battle. Loki should be a leader of the new giant pirates and become one of the leaders of Luffy's fleet, which does exist, by the way. It really does. No, I know it exists, but I also don't think, like, it would feel satisfying, at least to me, to hear Luffy tell Loki that he wants him to join his crew. And then, because every single person that Luffy kind of told, well, not every single person, I think there was who the fuck was it that Luffy asked to join his crew that also looked like a fucking freak? There was, at some point in the story, there was, like, one person Luffy did ask, like, if he could join his crew, and the crew was like, no. But in this case, like, almost every single person, then if he joins, how would Loki fit in the ship? Frankie has a next to endless amounts of atom wood, the Pluton blueprints essentially frozen in his fucking brain, and he has the capacity to just build a stronger battleship for the Straw Hat fleet. Like, they are in the birthplace of Adam Wood. I don't know. Luffy did ask Luffy to join his crew, and he declined. And so did Frankie, and so did Robin, technically. Well, no, Robin said the other thing, yeah. So did Zoro, and so did, what's-his-face? So did Sanji. So did, Frankie, and so did, Jinbei. But Jinbei had a legitimate reason for it. I think Loki could fit as a Straw Hat. I really do. And he could also, like, I also think it would be really funny to see, like, Nami and Usopp riding on his fucking... Sorry, guys. I also think it'd be, like, really funny to see, like, Nami and Usopp riding on his shoulders, blasting everything with fucking lightning and bombs and shit. Anyway, sorry, give me a second, guys. Okay, so to answer a couple of questions, no, I do not think that the Thousand Sunny is going to remain the same, at least for long after this arc. I think that at some point Frankie does have to upgrade it into the Pluton or Uranus or whatever the fuck is the next ship, is the battleship. I think that Frankie is going to upgrade the Thousand Sunny, and I think it's going to be big enough to maybe house Loki. I think it's actually going to be pretty damn big, all things considered. I don't know what his ability is. I don't think he can swim because he is a Devil Fruit user as far as we know. Yeah, Gaimon. He wanted Gaimon to join him. That's right. Yeah. He wanted Gaimon to join him, but he decided to stay on the island. Yeah, no. Most of the people that Luffy does ask to join his crew, they basically do kind of join, right? But yeah, anyway. Guys, I have to leave. My mom just got to the airport. I have to head out. Thank you guys for joining me on the stream. I'll probably finish writing this up tomorrow on my own time. I will likely stream tomorrow. But that'll be the end of the stream. I know it was a bit abrupt, but I did say I had like 2 hours, and I guess 2 hours did pass by. Great, another call. I will talk to you guys later. See you guys next stream. Take care of yourselves and drink some water, guys. Drink water.